Hello, good evening. We are here with Get Awesome and we are live. Hi, Katie. How are you? How are you doing today?
I'm
And
doing
this is our accountability check in at the end of the month. And March has been one about planning and goal setting and getting guidance on that. And we had a couple of um, documents that we posted on our Facebook group, which I'm going to ask everybody to please go and join on the Facebook group so that you're able to get all the support materials and guidance that comes from in that group. And the group is called Get Awesome. So just search for Get Awesome and join. It's still a public group. So we posted a couple of things. The first artifact had asked for you to set 7 goals for 2021. And the second artifact asks you to pick the top or the primary goal that is most important to you and to list that on that second artifact. So it would either be a total of 8 goals or 7 goals, of which one of the 7 became the primary goal. So with that, by the way, I forgot to introduce ourselves. I just make the assumption you know who we are by now. But I am Jen Drakes, also known as the Original Goddess, and I am your mentor and guidance, also coach, but I prefer to call myself a mentor and a guidance in life. And my co-host is, go ahead.
I am Coach Katie. I'm a certified ULA life coach. So I am here to help you find your ULA life so you can live a life that's ooh la la awesome.
Exactly. And together we bring different perspectives, but speak the same language and have the same goals. So, Katie, why don't you kind of get us going on the accountability related with the planning and goal setting, and we'll go from there. Oh my nose is itching.
You're coming into money. Isn't that what that means?
Yes, that is. I hope that's the case. I'll let you know if it happens, but it was like really just weird. It just came up like that. So, okay.
Okay. In ULA, there are 7 areas of your life: fitness, finance, family, field, which is your career, faith, friends, and fun. And so what ULA means is living a life of balance in these 7 areas. And when we say balance, I don't mean, and we don't mean that you've got to split your day up into an hour here on finance and an hour here on family and an hour here on fitness. Just overall, your life needs to be balanced in these areas. And we also understand that given what's going on in your life at any particular time and what your focus is and what your goals are, you may have to live a season of being out of balance in order to make progress. So, for example, if you were trying to pay off debt because you were drowning in debt, you may have to have a season out of balance where maybe you have to pick up a second job, or maybe you have to figure out what to sell, or figure out your budget and what to cut. And so you may have to do without your Netflix, for a while until you can pay off your debt. And that's sort of a season out of balance. And we get that. So if you were a client of mine and I was taking you through this from the start, what I would have you do, and I'll show you an example here, is I would have you do 3 goals in each one of the 7 areas. And this sheet just shows you the top 4. So that would mean that you would have 21 goals. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, holy crap, 21 goals? No way, right? I can't do 21 goals. So that's why we say you start with the 21 and then you cut it down to the 7. So we sort of like gave you a break, and we cut out that first part, and we said, just think of seven goals. And when you're doing this and you do 21 to 7, you don't have to pick one from each one of the 7, your fitness, finance, family, field, faith, friends, and fun. So you don't have to do it that way. You just pick your top 7. Maybe you're rocking it in friends, or maybe you're rocking it in fitness, or you're rocking it in your field. You still have goals in those areas, but you're rocking it. So you pick your top 7. And I posted to our Facebook group, Get Awesome. Please join us. And if you're joining us live, please let us know that you're here so we can, give you some kudos for joining us, and, share your thoughts and feelings with us on this. We'd love to have some interaction with folks. So you pick your top 7. And then from your top 7, you pick your ULA 1. And your ULA 1 is that one goal that if you could do that one goal, it would mean everything, and it could have a ripple effect on the whole rest of your life. And the example I always give to help people with this is, excuse me, maybe your ULA 1 goal is that you want to do an Ironman. More power to you. Whew. Really, more power to you if you want to do an Ironman. And you want to do an Ironman in Hawaii, right? That's your dream. But you know that your goal has to be, before I can do that, I need to lose whatever it is, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, whatever it is. And then I need to start training for this. But you know that if you lost that weight, that not only would it boost your fitness, right? Because you'd be healthier. It would have a ripple effect on your finances, because you were no longer stopping at Dunkin' Donuts or Krispy Kreme on your way to work, right? You're no longer eating McDonald's or Wendy's or Taco Bell at lunch, right? So you're saving some money there because you're not going to those places. With your family, it would have a ripple effect because you would be able to get on the floor with your grandkids and play. You would be able to play with your kids. You would be able to take walks with your husband after dinner. You would feel better about yourself. You may feel more attractive to yourself. So you would be more interested in date nights and what all that entails, right? At work, if you felt better about yourself, maybe you'd have more confidence. Maybe you'd raise your hand for that special project. Maybe you'd speak up at meetings, right? With your friends, maybe you'd be more willing to join them at the gym, because they're all together at the gym and they're all doing these classes, but you're too embarrassed. But now that you're feeling better about yourself and you've lost some weight, maybe you want to join them. And fun, really, going to the gym, sitting on the floor with your grandkids, date nights with your husband, playing with the kids, that's all fun. So you see how it can have how that one goal can have a ripple effect on all the other areas. And I'll tell you this, your ULA 1 may not even be one of your top 7, because a lot of times what happens is we all know that there's something we need to do. But when it comes down to when we're writing down our goals, like I showed you on my little sheet I held up, we don't put that because we're ashamed by it. We're embarrassed by it. We don't want to admit it to ourselves. If we speak it, we have to do something about it, right? But again, we know in our heart of hearts, if I do whatever this is, whether it's losing weight, whether it's paying off debt to ease the stress in my life, the stress on myself, the stress on my marriage, whatever it is, but we're embarrassed by it, right? We're embarrassed by that we've got $18,000 in credit card debt, right? And we've got really nothing to show for it. That can be your ULA 1. And we're not asking you to share your ULA 1 with us. That's just between you, yourself, and God or Buddha or Allah or whoever it is in your life, your higher power. But you know that that's the one that if I could get my arms around that, if I could get a hold of that, if I could conquer that, everything in my life would change, right? It's not all going to be sunshine and roses, but everything in my life would change for the better because I'd have this burden lifted off of me. So again, with your goals, we ask that you make SMART goals. And Jen and I have different takes on the SMART thing. I say it needs to be specific. It needs to be measurable. You need to be accountable for it. It needs to be realistic. You can't tell me that you want to lose 50 pounds by, May 1st, and we're sitting at March 31st. It's not going to happen. As much as we wish you could wave that magic wand and have that weight come off, we know that's not going to happen. So it's got to be realistic, and you have to have a timeline attached to it. And Jen, I don't have yours in front of me. I usually do.
I don't bring them in front of me either, but it's not that we're that different. It's just using different language depending on how people think about it, because some of the language is very business centric or professional centric, and it's just to bring it down to a somewhat more everyday type of language to try and make it more absorbable, to others to be able to absorb it. But at the end of the day, you do want your goals to be very specific. You want them to be able to be measurable in terms of you want them time boxed in some way as well. So all those sort of things. So, SMART is something you can look up and certainly you can Google SMART goals. They're very popular. It's been the pseudo way of setting goals now for well over 10 years. So that's something to go and look at and try to make your goals that way. In terms of, the way there's 7 areas of ULA to try and set the goals within. For me personally, like right now, I kind of put personal versus business versus, so personal life, business life, and then my own type of goals. So I put them in 3 buckets, but they still cover all the things that ULA covers. I just put them into those 3 buckets. And for myself, I am now at the point, because the first quarter of the year is just about to pass. Today's the last day of the first quarter. And which means going into April, I'm now going into my checkpoint on the goals I have set. So for April, I will be checking to see what goals have I attained. The goals that I set at the end of 2020, do they still hold? Has some new ones been introduced? So I'll do that level setting in April. And I tend to do it every quarter, half a year, that type of thing, with the final time frame in fall where I redo my entire goals to set for the next year. So right now I'm going into my first checkpoint for the year. So that's another factor as well, Katie, that you might want to speak to.
Right. Well, again, with my top 7, I have them on a crystal card that sits in front of me, so I can see them every day, and focus on them. And next month we'll talk about doing your little 3x5 cards. And so part of the stuff that's on here that's moved to my steps that I take daily to hitting those goals. And you do need to check in, just like doing the ULA wheel. You don't do the ULA wheel once and you're done, because things change in our lives, situations change. We make changes in our lives. We grow. We may have situations that happen in our lives that may affect some of these areas. And so I personally would recommend doing the ULA wheel maybe 3 times a year, once in the beginning of the year, once mid-year as a check-in, and once at the end of the year. So you see how you've progressed over the year, and then you can also see from that ULA wheel maybe where you need to start at the beginning of the following year.
Right.
And look, I'll tell you this, and I've said this before. Jen is a huge goal setter, always has been for years, and she's fabulous at it, and she's excellent at it. Me, not so much, right? When I started my my ULA training and doing the ULA, that was really the first year that I set personal goals. And I worked in corporate America, and we used to have to do, so I'm really, trust me, I am familiar with having to set SMART goals, and I'm familiar with like having to pull teeth because I worked for General Motors, and we used to do business plan with dealers, and part of the business plans was setting goals. And we always wanted the goals in a SMART form, right? We didn't want the dealer to tell us that they were just going to sell more cars this year. That doesn't really mean anything. Sell more cars? Well, yeah, everybody wants to sell more cars. You know, how many more cars do you want to sell a month? And what are you going to do to sell those more cars a month? So it's really easy when you're trying to pull this information from other people. Trust me, it's really difficult for some of us out there when it's you sitting there facing a blank sheet of paper and thinking about, okay, what do I need to do? And what do I want to do? And how do I get there? And how am I gonna know? See, now Jenna, you got my nose itching.
So we're both coming into money. That's good to know.
Right?
That's always good to know.
How am I going to get to that goal?
Mm-hmm.
I get it. And I still will, I still struggle with it because I've not been doing it as long as Jen has. But, there's a meme I keep seeing that if you are failing to plan, then you are planning to fail. Which kind of sounds horrible, doesn't it? Right? It kind of makes you think, okay, so if I don't have any goals, I'm a loser. Well, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're just like, probably 90% of us. I did have, and I used to have it in front of me, where the EULA guys talk about, it was a Virginia Tech study that talked about, 90% of us don't set goals and don't write them down. And of those that write them down, only something like 4% ever look at them again. So really the idea is not for you just to do it so you can come back on here and tell us you did it. No, the idea is to look at where you are on that ULA wheel, right? And if you're stuck for goals, go back to the questions that were on each one of those 7 F's and look at where you scored yourself low. Like for me, for instance, under fitness, right? I'm pretty happy with my health. I go to the gym like 3 days a week at least, and I do cardio and weights. Just recently had a test that gives you your cardiac score because I was told by my doctor that my cholesterol stank. And, I have a family history of heart attacks, so he wanted me to get this cardiac score test. And so I said, insurance doesn't cover it, but I said, okay, I'll go do it. So I went and did it. And your score ranges from like 0 to 400, with 0 being the best and 400 being see you later, goodbye, right? And they called me and they told me my score was 0. I was like, yes, I'm vindicated with my doctor. But looking at the other questions that were on fitness, it says, do you eat I avoid processed food. I had, no, I don't. I eat processed food, right? Do you eat balanced meals? No, I don't. So I knew that for fitness, I made one of my goals was because I am a snacker. I'm not a meal eater. I'm a snacker. And I don't always snack the healthiest. So I made one of my goals, and I'm still working on it. And some weeks I'm rocking it every single day of the week. And then some weeks I'm biting the dust on it. It's to eat at least 1 fruit or vegetable a day, which sounds really horrible, right? But if you look at what I would eat, that was a reasonable goal for me, right? I got to start someplace. So that was my goal under finance, right? I'm retired now, but I saved my income. I invested my income. I tried my damnedest to live within my means. But then there were questions as, do you have a will? No, I don't have a will. So I had to give myself a big fat 0. So like one of my goals in that area is to get with an attorney and set up a will. So the questions that are on the wheel, if you're stuck in a particular F, can help you focus on maybe a goal that you need to do, if that makes sense. And
it absolutely does. And the other motivator too is just, and I think this is kind of how most people kind of look. They come into a year, they say mentally, not necessarily write it down, but let's give a career example. You know, I want to be promoted in my job. And they think about it, but they don't actually write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And they fail to understand by writing it down, you become a bit more strategic in that goal. So it's no longer just like in the wish area. It becomes much more tactical in how you approach it. So that's one of the things. I think most people have goals. Most people probably don't write them down. And then when they fail, then where they shortfall themselves, right? Where they kind of, step over their own feet then is because they can't become tactical by just having it in their head saying, I want to be promoted, right? Because they may not be making the right tactics to actually see it through. So then when they don't get promoted, they get down.
Right.
So, one of the things is to also, another approach is to look at what is it that you aspire, whether it's short, it's a short-term aspiration or not. What do you aspire for? And then that becomes a goal. And you also write that down. So there's a number of different tactics to approach to goal setting, and start to use it as a kind of guiding post to make, because then you become, once it's written down, it's really solid. And then you really are working towards that much more tactically than you would just having it in your head. So I think those are another approach to consider as well, Katie. But I love how you say, if you look at the questions that are in the wheel, then depending on how you answer, it guides you to what potentially your goals could be as well. Right. So those kind of approaches will help you build, and all of a sudden you may find that the 21 is really not an insurmountable number to get to. You may actually get beyond 7 goals. And I don't think the number matters if you don't set goals and you're starting to set goals so much. If you feel pressured by 21, which probably most people would, and if you feel pressured by 7, then start with 3. Just go, what are my top 3? And just start with 3, but start somewhere.
Right. Start. I found that stats. It's 80% have never thought of a goal. 80% of us have never thought of a goal. Never crossed.
Wow. Okay. That's a high number. That's higher than I thought it would be.
Only 16% of us have thought of a goal.
Wow.
Thought of a goal.
No, I know that I stuck on the word thought. That one surprised me. Wow.
Right. Only 4% have written it down.
Oh my goodness.
And only 1% of us look at that goal daily.
Really, eh?
And it says, of the folks, that 1% that look at it daily, these folks earn 9 times more over a lifetime.
Wow.
So if that doesn't, as my mother,
if that doesn't motivate,
my mother would say, if that doesn't stir your stumps.
Yeah, if that doesn't motivate, I don't know what does. I am real. You know what? The 80% blew me away, Katie. Seriously, I would never, if you had asked me to say, Jen, guess how many people don't even think of a goal, I wouldn't be nowhere near the 80%. That's shocking to me, especially, and as you say, I'm one that sets a goal, right? I've been doing it for a very long time. I know the benefit of it. And I do agree that once you set a goal, I don't care how many, usually, and there was a time where year after year after year, at the end of the year, I would hit all my goals. And even new ones added, I would hit all my goals. It's only a few years that you might miss one. Even last year I missed one for stupid reason too, but I missed one, so that wasn't 100%, but most of the time I'm hitting my goals or surpassing. And remember, I told you I wouldn't even know what to do going into a year without goals. I wouldn't even have a clue how my life would go. It'd be a rocket mess, let me tell you. So I can't even imagine being in the 80% that doesn't even think of it. I think it's the thinking of it that threw me when you said that. I was like, what do you mean doesn't even think of it? So what does that mean? 80%? No, seriously though, let's break this up. What does that mean, not thinking of a goal? Does that mean you're just roaming? You're just existing? What does that mean? I don't actually know what that means.
That means that you were just going through the motion, right? You're, in my mind, if you don't think of goals and you don't have goals and you don't have dreams, you're getting up, going to work, coming home, parking your butt on the sofa, watching, I don't know, sports or Netflix or whatever, maybe helping the kids with homework is, again, and we'll hit this tomorrow, you are so caught up in the skittles of your life, right? That you have allowed the skittles of your life, and we're going to talk about this next week. The skittles are those everyday errands, jobs, whatever. It's taking the dog to the vets. It's taking the kids to soccer practice. It's doing the laundry, going to the grocery store, cleaning up, making dinner, cleaning up after dinner. You have allowed all of that to take over your life.
So one day just goes, one day, and the next day just goes, and you're just doing a routine. You've become very routine based.
Right.
And you're giving all your energy to whatever else you do, but not necessarily to yourself and your growth and your.
Absolutely.
And that's 80%.
For women.
Wow.
Women have the tendency to put everybody, we're the caregivers, right? We're the caregivers of everybody, right? So we have a tendency to put everybody's needs ahead of ours. It's the kids, it's the spouse, it's the people on the job, it's the pets in our home. We put everybody else's needs ahead of our own. Now, I will tell you this, when you're setting your goals, and look, if you don't have any goals set right now, we're not going to hunt you down.
Goodness, no. We're here to encourage and guide. We're here to tell you what the benefit is of doing the things we're guiding you to. And I want to make sure people understand my reaction. People might say, she's a coach. Why is she reacting that way? But it's not that I'm reacting that way, because I'm a very positive minded thinker. So until I'm one-on-one with somebody and they say to me, I don't set goals, my guidance is about setting goals and about how to get them to start doing the habit, just like how Katie and I are doing it here on this show. But never am I thinking from a mass perspective that 80% of the masses aren't doing it. That's what Katie threw me with. But I don't even mind if she said 80% are not doing it. That would not have bothered me. She said to me, 80% doesn't even think of a goal. That threw me for sure, because I didn't think it would be that high that you didn't even think of a goal. Right?
Right. And I think it goes back to that we let the skittles in our lives take over. And so we never sit quietly, and we never sit and think about what we want, right? We never think about what are my dreams, right? I'm too busy trying to fulfill everybody else's in my family's dreams, right? What are my dreams? Let me tell you this. I have all these thoughts like running through my head. First thought, you cannot fill somebody else's cup from an empty cup. So you have to fill your cup, right? If you think you can continue to pour into others without pouring into yourself, I'm sorry, you're wrong. Hear me, read my lips. You are wrong.
But the other side of it, Katie, that I want to point out, and this is the other side, the other side of that lens, and I 150% agree with you. I'm one that always says you've got to reserve something for yourself. But the other side of that is I honestly believe, and I'd love to get a percentage number of this, that most people are operating at 150% or over 100% of, giving of their energy. And what they don't understand is you really only have 100%. If you are given 150%, you're making yourself ill. Whether
Right.
you recognize it or not, that 50% is pulling from somewhere. And it's pulling from all the different energies of your internal organs, all this sort of stuff. So you're really over time making yourself ill. I see it with caregivers who are looking after the elderly. I see, you are making yourself ill, whether you're ill now or not. Over time, it builds and you're making yourself ill. You only have 100%. And that goes back to your Skittles exercise too, Katie. You only have 100%. So you have to decide, do I hold back 20% for myself and give 80? Do I hold back 50%? Depending, again, for me, it depends on your goals. But if you're not thinking goals, right? What do I hold back for myself to nurture me, keep me going, to be able to foster other people, to be able to give that energy to other people? So if you want to, we'll go to Katie's favorite example. You want to lose weight? You need to set time aside to do whatever it needs to do. You need to do to lose the weight, whether that is going to the gym, whether that's taking a class. You need to set the time aside to just focus on that particular need and aspiration. But if you're giving 100% to some other people, whether it's the kids, parents, whoever it is, when do you have time to meet that goal? You will always be setting yourself up for disappointment. So that's where I'm coming from. So there's two coins. Katie has said it beautifully, and I think there's a front side and a back side to that in terms of what I said. You've got to recognize you only have 100% of energy. How will you use that 100%? So that you don't get ill, so that you have the energy to foster other people and care about those that you wish to care about. And you're re-energizing your body, you're re-energizing your mind, you're re-energizing your spirit, right? So that you can then still fold over that cup for others. So that's what I have to say. I don't want to keep beat it to the ground, but I think people, it's very important stuff. And I think people need to realize, I think people need to realize a lot of pretty serious aspects of how they're living their life and become aware. And you go ahead though, Katie, because I've said my spiel. I could go on, but
well, you and I both. That's one of our greatest assets is that we can.
I could go on this forever because it's really from a point of concern. It's from a point of love. It's from a point of concern for those and for those who feel they have to. That's the part that saddens me, is when you feel you have to and that you don't have a choice, but you actually do, because that's all life is made up of, is choices. And the first thing starts with the decision, and it starts with the choice. And when do you make a choice for yourself? When do you do that? Right?
Right.
If you never do, then that's it. Your life outcomes will show that.
Right. There is, and at some point I'll go back and I'll find it. But I remember reading this in a book called Simple Abundance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I remember that book. I have it somewhere. I know that book. Yes.
He writes about that there are several world religions that at the end of your life, it goes something like, you will not be called upon to account for things that you did, but you will be called upon to account for things that you didn't do, for opportunities that you didn't take advantage of. Mm-hmm. And you will have to explain why. Why didn't I get healthy? Why didn't I take that class? Mm-hmm. Why didn't I, offer to teach art at the senior citizens home? Why didn't I open that bookstore?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't I teach literacy? Whatever it is. Why didn't I coach my kids' soccer team? Why didn't I? And again, we're going to hit this really hard next month. It's because we have focused so much on the skittles of our lives that we are letting our lives, and look, I am not by any means perfect. I'm telling you this. I'm telling you that I am just as guilty as you are of letting the skittles take over my life. I am just as guilty of letting days go by and all of a sudden realizing, what the have I done this week, right? This week is over, and what have I done? Nothing, right? I've watched BritBox. I've scrolled through Facebook. I've taken my dogs out 50 times a day. So I hear you, and I know that. So let me say one last thing about goal setting. When you're setting your goals, I strongly encourage you to set an easily achievable short-term goal, right? Something you could do in the next 30, 60, 90 days with no sweat, right? It's not going to stress you out. It's not going to have you like worried every single day. Something that's going to be easy for you to hit. So you can hit it, you can mark it off your list, and you can get that sense of satisfaction, that sense of momentum that, okay, I have got this, right? And if you
I'm going to call that your quick win. Pick a quick win. I'm going to call that your quick win. Write down something you can do without a thought, and you can just tick it off, and it'll be your quick win. You pat yourself on the back. You feel great.
Absolutely. And Tony Robbins always says to think of yourself, to like move aside. I've got this.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
By yourself. Whatever it is that's fighting your way, move aside. I got this. I can do this. And I'm telling you, if I can do this and I can work with somebody as just fabulous as Jen, you can do it. You can do it. If I can step up and go through the training to be a certified ULA coach and pass the exam, you can do it. You can do anything you want, right?
Absolutely.
Don't be like, and do you remember the Rudolph Christmas special?
I know the Rudolph Christmas special. Which part?
Okay. And for some reason, when you were talking tonight, this just pops into my head.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just part of it. It's where Rudolph must have been telling Clarice, the little doe, his dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I don't know how to dream anymore. I don't have, and she's crying. I don't have dreams left. I don't want that to be you. I really don't want you to not have any dreams left, because if you tell yourself that, I know you're lying, because I know that inside you, somewhere, you've buried it under the mundane life that most of us get sucked into. You have a dream, and you probably have more than one dream. So, like me, you've got squirrel brain, right? So, and shiny object syndrome and fear of missing out syndrome, whatever you want to call it. But, I got a lot of dreams. I got a lot of things I'd like to do. I don't have one single dream. I have a bunch of dreams, right? I don't want to get to the end of my life and have God ask me, why didn't I do something?
Well, yeah, and when we were talking, I'll tell you the show that popped into my head, and I don't know if you ever saw it. And it was a very popular show. I think it was called Second Chance or Twice in a Lifetime or something like that. And it would start where somebody passes away in something. They then show them going up, right? Like they go up and they encounter God or whoever, that power, and they ask them about their life. They say, and it's exactly that. Why, look at your life. And what they do is they give them a second chance. So they send them back down with an angel now, and they have, say, 3 days to correct. And if they do it, they get to live again and live the life they should have lived. So it was a very popular show. But the other thing that I wanted to say, it was a wonderful show. I'll look it up and maybe send you the link to it, but you should look at it, especially, because of your faith. It's all about that type of thing. Very, very good show. But the other thing that I wanted to say is that we we did a summit on the weekend. We did a summit, and in that summit we asked the question, what would you if you could not fail, what would you do? If you couldn't fail, there was no way you could fail, what would you do? Everybody that came back had nothing related to what they were doing. Absolutely nothing. And 100%, nothing related to what they were doing. So it begged the question, so why are you not doing it?
Well, right.
Why are you not doing this? And they were in different jobs, but they weren't doing the one thing. Like once you took all of any possibility of protest, buts, all the negative language that people say, right? The dreams that came out were phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal dreams, but nobody was doing that.
Well, and I'll tell you this, because that reminds me, when I was working at GMC Talk and we were interviewing for people to come work our customer assistance, one of the questions I used to always love to ask these young people were, if money wasn't an issue and you could do anything at all, what would you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And I did it for two reasons. One, because I'm basically nosy, right? And I wanted to know what their dreams were. And then number two, I wanted to know if they'd have the courage to tell me what their dreams were. And out of all of the people over, the course of a couple of years when I was doing this, I only had one person that actually what they said I knew was a dream. Most of the other people were like, well, I'd like to become, work my way up to like becoming like a group supervisor. And I just, and I'm sitting across from them and I'm thinking, okay, that's not your dream. That's really not your dream. I never got to the point where I called him out on that.
Right.
Thinking, that's not your dream. It reminded me of that commercial of young kids when they were like interviewing them about what their dreams were. And the one little kid says, who wants to crawl his way up to middle management. Not your dream. Not your dream. And I only had one person who told me, and I can't even remember what her dream was, but it was a woman. And it was something like, she, was really into music and would like to, it was either she wanted to record her own music or she wanted to manage a band, or it was, it was something that was totally unrelated.
Right. To what they were doing.
The business that we were in.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always interested to hear people's dreams. So again, when you leave this, look, carve out time for yourself. And don't tell me you don't have time, right? We all have the same amount of time. We all have the same 24 hours a day. And a lot of us have jobs, a lot of us have kids, a lot of us have spouses, a lot of us have pets. I get it. But carve out some time, right? Like I had a friend who said she doesn't have time to meditate. And I said, you cannot tell me that within a 24-hour period, you cannot give like 1 minute to sit and be quiet, right? And then maybe work that up to 5 minutes. You cannot tell me that in a 24-hour period, you cannot find 5 minutes, right? So this is sort of the same principle. Start with, if it's only 10 minutes, start with 10 minutes, right? Don't think that you've got to, go away to a mountain retreat and leave the kids and the dogs and your spouse all at home. No, work with what you have. So if it's 15 minutes, right after dinner or when the kids come home from school, park them with a snack and their homework. And then, you go sit in your bedroom or sit out on the front porch and just be silent and dream and think. And trust me, when I say this to you, things will flow from there.
Absolutely.
Or inside you, they will make themselves known. They are waiting for you to be still and listen.
And that's what it is. It's about stillness. It's about setting the right, the right atmosphere to allow yourself to really let go and just dream.
Right.
And just get in touch with yourself, your thinking, everything, the things you're feeling, what impressions you're getting, because it's also about using all your five senses and really starting to, what are the things that mean to you? What do you enjoy doing? It's really about self-awareness and getting back in touch, but also desiring. It's so sad when I think that there's people that don't desire something, right, for themselves. But that's really what we're asking. We're asking you to desire something again, right? Start to write down what you desire, what you aspire for yourself, and get into that mode and write it down. Write it down.
Write it down is the key. And if need be, go back to your childhood and think, when you were a kid, what did you always say you wanted to be when you grew up? What did you dream about? What do you dream about now? I know that life is a burden for some people.
Mm-hmm.
I also know that there is a way out of that burden. There is a way to be still. And I'm going to quote the Bible: "Be still and know God." And know God. Be still. Write it down, like Jen says. What is her name? Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way.
Yeah.
She talked about doing your morning pages.
Mm-hmm.
20 to 30 minutes each morning, just writing. No thought, no whatever, just writing. Right? It's like a brain dump, right? So you brain dump all of that stuff. You brain dump what annoying thing your child did at dinner last night. You brain dump that annoying thing your husband said to you right before lights out. What your boss said to you the other day at work, what that coworker did, what you've got to do today. It's a brain dump. 20 minutes every day.
Mm-hmm.
Do that, and it can make a difference in your life, because you stop. If you do this brain dump, you learn to stop carrying all of that stuff around with you every day, because all of that stuff can burden you,
right,
and can drag you down. So again, all I can say is, work on your goals. Like Jen says, if 21 seems, oh my God, if 7 seems you've got to be kidding me, start with 2, start with 3, start with 1. All I can tell you is just start.
And another thing they can start with, if the actual goals part is challenging them, just start to journal. Every day, just write a sentence. Write something of something that comes into your mind till you get comfortable, in that mode of just every day writing something. The sentence or the few words will turn into a few sentences, into a paragraph, into 2 paragraphs. And from those nuggets that you are writing down of thoughts, you will probably find goals inside of them. So that's another way to start too, if you're more, if that sounds like something that you're willing to do. But the bottom line from Katie and I, and from our accountability check-in, is a simple message: start. Start.
And if we can help, reach out. Reach out with
absolutely.
Reach out with your sense of loss. Reach out with, you don't know how to word it, or, not that really matters, but reach out to us, and we can help you build, and we can help you put it together.
Absolutely. So let's wrap up. Wow, that was an amazing discussion. Absolutely amazing. You can see that we're passionate about the topic. We're passionate about everything we talk about. But this one really starts everything and builds up, like everything from here builds from this. So this built from the wheel. Our next topic is going to build from the planning and goal setting and so on and so forth. But we are passionate about this, and we're passionate about everyone out there living a really amazing, ooh la la, awesome life. And that's what we're trying to do here. So, hopefully we connect. And as I said, if Katie and I touch one person, we're happy. If we touch 20, we're ecstatic. But if we can get anybody to start doing this and really start to put themselves as priority for just a part of the day. We're not asking you to be priority 100% of the day or 100% of the year, but to give yourself priority for a portion of something, then we will be happy and you'll be on the right path. So that's what I have to say going out. As usual, I want you to be ooh la la awesome. Katie, take us out with I always look forward to how you take us out. So take us out, my girl.
Remember, be grateful, have faith, and go get your ULA life. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye for now. We are out of here, Katie. Love to everybody. So let's get out of here.